please welcome back Larry Williams.
Wow, what a great morning. We're going to keep the momentum going. This has been a wonderful, there we go. Wonderful morning. Hey, you heard me say earlier, but this year, about this year's Georgia Technology Summit theme, it's really about driving high performance team. And we specifically wanted to look at and wanted to focus on exploring how, we really wanted to look at how athletes, coaches, analysts, business leaders, media, and spectators intersect to create an amazing customer experience. And we have some of the chief technologists in the world that really think about this on a global basis. And these are all rock stars in their own right. And what they've done and how they've mastered it is really going to be enlightening and very insightful for how we do it. I'm super excited about this panel, like I have been every one, but please help me in welcoming our high-performing panel members. And we'll start with Todd Harris, CEO of Skillshot. Yep. Followed by Karl Pierburg, CTO at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Kim Rometo, SVP, Chief Information and Technology Officer for the Atlanta Hawks and State Farm Arena. Billy Turchin, SVP, Product for FanDuel. Yeah. Scott Waid, Head of Technology for the Atlanta Braves. Sorry. And give a special welcome to my friend and the moderator, Mohamed Massaquoi, Managing Director at VESSOL and former NFL wide receiver. There you go, Mohamed.
So it's a pleasure to be here with everyone today. And we're going to jump into it pretty fast. And we're going to start with the tool that I think everyone is scared of, that being AI, ChatGPT. And so starting with Kim and Billy, we talk about how these tools may possibly replace humans. Can you talk about how AI and things like ChatGPT may actually enhance the human experience?
Happy to, and thanks for having me out today. So quick question, show of hands, how many of you are using generative AI every day? I love it. And hopefully we are being fearless with it and we don't need courage to use it. Yesterday I used the ChatGPT add-in on Chrome, and I mistyped Stanley Cup and instead wrote Staley Cup. And Chrome responded with a whole bunch of cups that I could buy. And ChatGPT immediately understood what I was asking for and gave me the whole history of the Stanley Cup and who was currently playing. I am not afraid of this. For years, we've measured intelligence and success on our ability to memorize, how much we could regurgitate. Think about a doctor understanding the symptoms and quickly saying to a patient, hey, this is what I think your diagnosis is, this is the things we're going to treat, what we're going to do. With generative AI, that entire paradigm is changing in the best way possible. New jobs are being created, and what humans are going to get to do are the things that humans do best, which is use curiosity, decision-making, really understand what decisions and what swinging doors we're going to go through as a society, and I think that's a wonderful, wonderful step forward.
I love it. Billy, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, so a lot of people here probably have team members that maybe have some anxiety and are thinking about, is my job going to be replaced, or I have to worry about my job. And our keynote earlier talked about preparing yourself for the future. And the way we look at it, and the way I like to talk to people about it, is look at it as a supercharging capability to enhance what you're already doing and do more. So if you think about, we're in a technology room, a lot of people here are software type people. A software engineer is very much a knowledge worker, and a very senior kind of software engineer can produce more than a junior software engineer. They know more, they've been through it a lot more. But now with having an AI co-pilot, that lower level software engineer all of a sudden becomes a 10x software engineer and can produce like somebody that is now considered a seasoned engineer. So and that happens at every level. So whether you're a customer service agent or some kind of operations role or whatever, everybody can kind of 10x their role using this notion of having a co-pilot that is assisting you, even if it's just something like, looking picking up the Stanley Cup and saving yourself several minutes of clicking around different things to get straight to that answer. The other interesting big application we're looking into is using these technologies to identify higher level orders of problems that humans have a hard time understanding or finding. So think about like fraud. Fraudsters are super sophisticated. They come up with lots of clever ways to circumvent the system. Anybody can kind of come up with an algorithm that can try to skirt the basic protections that we have in place for like bot defender and stuff like that. But AI can detect patterns of activity across different touch points and piece all that together. And so now all of a sudden that fraud team, that fraud agent is all of a sudden, again, superpowered and 10x in their ability to kind of hunt down suspicious behavior and potential bad actors. So we're looking at ways to kind of just get more out of the people we already have using these technologies.
And what I'm hearing is just that added productivity and allowing humans to be more human, not having to just hold these large chunks of information, but rather think creatively and curate how we go to tackling these problems. So I love it. But then we have to get to the question of, as technology moves really fast, what are the skills that are actually needed to compete? You know, is it just problem solving? Is it communication? Especially for the pure technologists that sometimes can just sit and code. What's needed? Karl, can you speak to that? Karl and Scott?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think especially with the changes in technology like ChatGPT, like AI, but with just the democratization of code and data, more and more your technologists have to be able to interface with, you know, the subject matter experts and the business in general. I spent a lot of my career in sports working with front offices and coaches, and we don't have huge, you know, analytics teams or huge software development teams. So our developers, our analysts have to talk directly to coaches and scouts. And, you know, you can't put someone in there that can't, you know, coherently speak with a coach or with a scout. Just like now, I can't hire an analyst and put them in front of a room full of sales associates and expect and I have to expect that my analysts can have meaningful conversations, come out of that and translate that into technical code, you know, right away for us. So I think we look for when looking for new associates, people that have that technical skill set, have that base, but they've got to be great communicators. They've got to be engaging. You know, the days of taking your data scientists and hiding them away are gone.
Scott, you want to add to that?
I would agree with what Karl said. All sports teams are about winning, and our number one goal every year is to win the World Series at the Atlanta Braves.
Nice job.
And in 21 we did it. So, but technology plays more and more of a role in that from over the years, and so that is on field performance. So whether that's player development, coaching, defensive positioning, et cetera. So technology plays a role there. In the front office, whether it's ticket sales or marketing, and then in the in-game entertainment experience, and technology plays. So technology is bigger today than it was 5 years ago. And as sports, gaming, and betting comes into the Georgia market, it's going to be even bigger. So that's the role, as Karl said, is how can the technology team support and enable those groups that we work with in the sports club, both at the Atlanta Braves and in the technology community. And so communication first and foremost. You have to understand and be able to communicate. Also being able to problem solve. We have a little bit of a unique aspect in sports and entertainment where we have nobody in the facility, and then suddenly we have, in the case of the Braves, 42,000 people for a sold-out opening day. And you have to get them there, have the technology work 100%, and improve that experience for them, because at the end of the day, the product on the field is really important, whether you win or lose, but it's the experience that the guest has while they're at your facility is what's most important and what the most memorable for them, whether it's a picture or an Instagram post or ability to track their favorite moment the day of the game or the day later. And so having people in technology that can communicate with the business, identify unique opportunities, and also be curious to understand what is it, put yourself in the perspective of the guest, and what are they trying to do, and how can technology make their experience better on a daily basis and over a season basis.
You know, the one thing I would add on to that too is communication, problem solving for sure. That needs to come up there, and then you have to then layer on top of that empathy, your ability to lean into your teammates' situations, and not only understand what they're asking for, but also understand what they're trying to do, so you can start to fill that gap as well. And that's just become more and more part of what you have to be able to do to get those competitive advantages that you're looking for.
And to add to that, I would say, as technology leaders, potentially redefining the job description, redefining the competencies that are needed. So when you do bring talent in, they know what's expected of the job so that they have a more well-rounded approach. And as we think of Atlanta and we think of all the technology enabled sports teams here, you can't do it all by yourself. We have great partners here. And so Todd, can you kind of highlight the need for the ecosystem of Atlanta to create partnerships, whether it's with corporate partners that we have here, the universities, the entrepreneurs that are in town, how that just continues to push everything forward?
Yeah, I think this event, of course, is a demonstration of the broad participation in the technology industry. What we do every day involves video games, so there's no field of play without technology. I think when it comes to partnerships, one area that I'm passionate about, and I know many up here are, is how we enable technology platforms broadly across Metro Atlanta. The mayor, in his remarks, spoke about the digital divide that became apparent during COVID. And it's not just sports teams, it's not just video games. Every business requires technology skills these days. And so I've been excited to see all the work that's going on in the region to give access to technology and technology training to many who might not otherwise have that exposure. For me, playing video games was my gateway to learning computer programming. And maybe for many of you, it was similar. And the nice things about video games and sports is it has the attention of young people already. So we can use the attraction of sports and gaming and start to almost smuggle in technology skills that might enable them to work in the gaming industry or the sports industry or the broader technology industry. So I think it's in everyone's benefit to support those sort of partnerships. There's a lot of opportunities here in the region to do so.
I love it. I love it. And we talk about esports, and when I grew up, people told you not to just play video games, to go play outside. And now we're seeing that there's a whole ecosystem for esports. And even sports betting, to a certain extent, has had a different outlook than it does now. But these are things that are truly enhancing the fan experience to be a part of it. So can you speak to how esports and sports betting are just the next layer of how sports technology is adding to the overall fan experience?
Yeah, your parents may have fibbed to you. You know, we held an event in a single esports game that had a prize pool of $2.6 million. One game was won by a kid from Cartersville, Georgia, and that's not even the biggest event in town. So I think whether it's sports betting or esports, it really is about a new way to engage, and to engage specifically over digital platforms. Not that the physical world is going away, but an opportunity to really extend your reach and deliver a different type of fan engagement through online platforms. And I think, to me, some of the things we've learned in gaming that are relevant to every business, the phenomenon of just live streaming your content is close to free, other than the time involved, and gives you global distribution. So I encourage everyone to look at live streaming. And similarly, I guess the phenomenon of the metaverse, that in my view, maybe the concepts around NFTs were a bit overhyped, but the concept of a digital presence and connecting with other people in a digital world is very real and not going away. And games deliver that now. So I'd encourage all businesses to look at those trends, let that be your compass, if you will, because there's something very real there for most businesses.
Yeah, I liked what you said earlier about, I think you used the gateway analogy, but people are already into games and sports, and this is a mechanism that allows people to connect more and connect digitally and really enhance the experience on something you're already doing and already into. You know, our customers very much tell us that, like, they love the idea of having the entertainment aspect of having something else vested in a game. You know, it's not about, I'm not trying to do this to win a bunch of money and pay my mortgage or anything. You know, I just want to have my $5 on an over-under for my favorite player. And that keeps me engaged, even if the game is a shutout and I might otherwise, you know, want to go leave early and get to my car or, you know, shut the TV off. I'm now engaged and I'm kind of really paying attention and hooked on it for some other reasons, you know, similar with the esports aspects. So you get this ability to like enhance the fan experience. You know, I know my peers here look at doing this, the physical experience, you know, in stadium experience as well. We look at doing it largely with the digital experience. Of course, those two worlds can kind of marry and collide. So very much it's about enhancing engagement and overall increasing entertainment with people using these technologies that they're already going to be familiar with using anyway, usually your mobile phone, right?
Yeah, I was just going to add that, you know, the blending of the physical and the digital world has happened, and it's coming into sports and entertainment in a big way. And so as Todd and Billy both shared, you know, from a sports team perspective, it'll enhance the physical experience in the park or the stadium, but it'll also create a much stronger connection, we believe, with our fans when they're not physically there. And, you know, that was present when a business model was challenged with COVID, when people weren't allowed to be in stadiums. And so many of you are aware we launched Digital Truist Park, which was the first in MLB for the metaverse. And that's a continuing business model that we're developing to blend that physical experience that you have at Truist Park with a digital experience you can have at Digital Truist Park.
It's opened new lines of revenue. So we hosted the League of Legends semifinal, which was phenomenal. Sold out event, great audience. Folks who typically wouldn't come to State Farm Arena came for that event and had a wonderful time. Our net promoter score was through the roof because we showed them the same hospitality that we show at every single other event. And then we have our own esports, Talon, gaming as well. So these are all net new revenue streams that wouldn't have existed for a sports team 5 years ago.
Yeah, we have a couple stadiums where we have retail FanDuel sportsbook locations in the stadium where fans go for the entertainment when there's an away game. When generally you wouldn't have a reason or expect yourself to go to the stadium. Not yet in Georgia. Hopefully we'll legalize here next year. But you know, again, another way to bring in additional revenue streams when you otherwise wouldn't have anything.
Yeah, as a former player, I think these tools are interesting. I started playing fantasy when I retired, and I have some insider knowledge because I know the players personally, and I'd say, hey, are you healthy this week? You know, I'm trying to put you in my lineup. But I do think it makes you pay attention to the game in ways that you may not have before. As an athlete, though, I've always thought the in-stadium experience is like no other. You get a chance to hear the rumble of the crowd. You see your favorite athletes up close and personal. You get an appreciation for their talent. But there's also this push to people, you know, having bigger TVs at home, inviting people into their home. From the stadium perspective, what are you doing from a technology standpoint to just enhance the overall experience of the fan?
I think what we would all say is really it is about friction reduction. When you think about that you can compete with a nice cushy sofa and a big screen TV, what draws people in? And it's really about the game, the experience, and the community. And what we've seen post-COVID is people want to be in community with one another, and they want something that they have in common to support and rally around, and that is the experience we want to give them. So what we don't want to give them is standing in line, waiting at security, looking at restrooms and saying, oh, maybe I'll just hold it. We don't want to do any of that. So all of the things that we've been looking at, and we collaborate and talk frequently, it's one of the joys of being in sports, is what can we deploy, whether that's facial recognition for accelerated access, if it's crowd intelligence, so we can identify movement and figure out how we can flow a little better, what we can do in any of those spaces. We actually are all 3 venues are on the same point of sale system, so that we can share our shared staff for concessionaires and others. Now only have to learn one system for the metro area, and that's a great efficiency as well. So those are all things that we're very focused on, deploying technology that makes our fans' lives easier and the experience that much better.
I would jump in there and say, as we look at those experiences, realize that it's not just one experience. There's obviously one main experience that we all come to the event for, and that needs to be impactful and engaging and meaningful. But there's a whole portfolio of experiences that you have when you visit a stadium, and making sure that those one kind of flow into each other, that we evaluate them almost individually so we can optimize. So we look at security, we look at ingress, we look at food and bed, we look at bathrooms, we look at departure. And then ways that we can work personalization and customization into those things, not in the bathroom, obviously, but in the other spots, where can we start to do some impactful moments of showing that, hey, we do know you, we are trying to, meet you where you are. That becomes really important. And then I would just, echo, especially in Atlanta, it's great because we do have 3 venues that really have absolutely no kimonos that we haven't shown to each other and opened up. So it allows for, the type of events that happen at State Farm are different than the type of events that happen at Mercedes-Benz are different than Truist Park. And so it allows us to really explore and experience, hey, what works here, what doesn't work here, and it may work somewhere else. So that kind of collaboration is hugely impactful.
The one thing I would add also is there's a lot more data and analytics that are involved in today's entertainment experience at a sports venue. And so you can, everything on the baseball side, launch angle, pitch velocity, spin rate, soon to be sports betting and sports gaming information. And so being able to present that to the fan who is there maybe monitoring their fantasy sports league or their sports result is increasingly important as an engagement model. And so bigger is always better when you get to LED boards. So we all have state-of-the-art LED boards, and finding ways to position that both for the public consumption, but also in our hospitality areas where it can be more customized to the group that may be using that particular area. So data and analytics and the presentation of that is critically important and will continue to be important as new opportunities present themselves.
I love it. And the thing that's really interesting about the panelists is all 3 major stadiums here have either been newly built or newly renovated. And so they're all state of the art. And when I think back of what the mayor was saying with all the talent that's here from a technology standpoint, either from the colleges or the entrepreneurs that are moving here, how would they introduce solutions that potentially fit into your ecosystem if they came up with something innovative?
Assistant, we interviewed, we had 3 final candidates for this year's season, and we asked them the same question: what are you excited about working for the Atlanta Hawks? And the first 2 said basketball, and the third said the ability to use my technical knowledge and my love for technology to improve the game, the experience, everything. The third candidate's the one we extended the job to. And really, for this room, it's about passion for what we do. You can't control the play, so you have to bring the passion of technology and the passion of your subject matter expertise and constantly challenging the status quo. And that's really how you get the door into sports and be very successful in it, is just constant curiosity and continuous improvement.
Yeah, I would 100% follow that up in that if you're coming to work for us, especially at AMBSU or MBS, we have 55 major events a year. Since we've opened the stadium in 2017, I think we had more major events than we did in the previous 25 at the Georgia Dome. So your ability to look across all of those, and they're all unique and different. Falcons are different than United, or different than concerts, or different than college football games. Your ability to look across that and understand how can we solve not one problem, but 55 problems is really a cool opportunity because it gives you scale in your solution.
Yeah, it seems like the kind of talent we all hire and look for is largely the same, right? Technology-oriented, data-oriented people, can kind of apply that to solve problems. The problem might be traffic flow versus the odds on an event happening. Like people think FanDuel's sports, and in a way it is, but really it's kind of like sophisticated data science to come up with the probability that an outcome is going to happen and giving people a transparent way to go choose which side of that probability they want to be on. Like that's what we do. You know, it happens to be a sports thing. It could be, you know, by probability to trip over a wire or something. Like it's the same thing, right? So, and or the probability to do something physically in the stadium. Am I going to go to this retail venue? Am I going to go to that retail venue, right?
I love it. I love it. And the other thing that we have to highlight is that everybody up here is incredibly busy, but you've made time out of your schedule to share your knowledge, and everyone here has made time out of their schedule to develop. In sports, we have this thing called the off season, where players are intentionally taking time off, they're resting, they're developing. How do you make time to develop new products, to find time to recharge, to find time to develop your team?
And you always have to have the next vacation on schedule. I will be completely checked out for 2 weeks in July in Uganda and Tanzania, and no one will hear from me. And I encourage my team to do the exact same thing in the off season. Take time to reset and to walk away and have that time to yourself and your families. However, there is no off season in sports. We have so many projects we have to get done. We've been actively planning for them all of Q1 and Q2 so that in Q3 we can mobilize on all of those new projects, get things done in preparation for the season ahead. And while that's ongoing, we still have concerts and other events that are happening in the arena that we must support. So take the time you need, walk away, recharge, then come back and be ready to work and ready to conquer the next task. And ideally, you come back with new ideas because that's really what that time is for, too.
Yeah, maybe I'll just add because our sport is mental, unlike our other partners out here. A lot of what we emphasize is balance for the body. You know, wellness, moving around. The highest level performers in esports, they spend a lot of time sitting down, and they might spend 10 hours a day practicing their sport. But we're more than brains on a stick. Even from a performance standpoint, the brain is connected to a body, and the research is clear that they're going to perform well if they're doing some physical activity, and our industry is still leveling up in that area. But any of us that work in technology can fall into that same trap, I think. So that's something that we encourage on our team, whether it's the players or the support staff or the event operators, is make sure to just remember to move, remember to get outside, some basic habits that way.
And you're all in highly connected ecosystems. You're touching the team, you're touching the players, you're touching the fans, you're touching the cities, you're touching the leagues. How are you as technology leaders empowering your teams to work more collectively, like enhancing teamwork within your respective organizations?
I mean, I can go first. You know, aligning the technology with the business leaders, whether it's a sales and marketing side or ticket operations or ticket sales, and then structuring through process, you know, an opportunity to have operational reviews so that you talk about what's working, what's not working tactically, but also what's on the horizon, what's the next big thing for that particular area, and having that ongoing communication, because when you're in season in the sports team, it's very active. There's a lot going on, and so being able to keep up with the problems and making sure that they're getting resolved while also keeping your eye on the future and creating new solutions and innovation is really key. And so creating that communication channel and that predictability while also, you know, identifying what the new opportunity might be. And that may be from a completely different club if you're an MLB team like the Braves are, or it could be from a different professional sports or esports. There's a lot of innovation going on right now in technology. And so that's where the opportunity for technologists on my team is to look across and see what's happening in other markets and other segments and bring that to Atlanta and the Braves in partnership with the Atlanta technology community, because there's also a lot of innovators out there in the audience today, and how can we marry that creativity and that innovation to the benefit of the Atlanta community?
Our partners in this room. We have Verizon, we have Salesforce, we have others, and we're very grateful to have them. We'll be spending some time with Slalom this afternoon, walking through a new project we want to do. So it's wonderful to see so many of our partners here today represented, and we'll continue to work on those partnerships. It's wonderful to see my partners on stage, people that I can bounce ideas off of and take that time. I really joke that my job is actually, I'm a gardener. Like, I constantly plant seeds, and then I go back and I water those seeds and I nurture those seeds and I prune, the plants that grow. And that communication is critical, because if I walk in a room and say, let's talk about our hybrid cloud strategy, people aren't going to know what I'm talking about. I mean, this room will, but in general, people won't know what I'm talking about. And so having those constant gardening conversations of, hey, have you thought about this thing? And then we go back and we talk about the thing again. You revisit those ideas, and soon enough, those ideas become they're owned by the business. And that's exactly what we want. We want the business to be that they are a partner every single day with technology.
So I hope you walk away, one, embracing where technology is going and the fact that it is moving so fast, and there's dynamic people who are trying to find solutions to enhance your fan experience. And I hope you walk away understanding just the value of partnerships, especially in Atlanta. This is a hyper-connected city. You see everyone up here, they enjoy working with each other. They enjoy collaborating with each other. And so the future of sports, esports, sports betting is really dynamic and exciting. And it's truly a pleasure to spend time with you today. Enjoy the rest of the conference.